Hi, friends. Welcome back to Pieces Here. I'm Avis Kalfsbeek, and the following is a letter to my children that I recorded in my car this past Friday evening. Due to the audio quality, I've re-recorded it, which allowed me to read a short passage from a book that came to mind during the drive. As usual, the books and words I make for peace can be found at aviskalfsbeek.com. And the music is The Red Kite by the talented Javier Peque Rodriguez. A letter to my children, a plea to not eat animals. I'm driving to Ecstatic Dance in Midtown Sacramento. There's an amazing sunset to the west, and I've been thinking of doing a podcast for my children. This is titled A Letter to My Children Requesting That They Stop Eating Animal Products. I'm 63 and I first considered becoming a vegetarian when my daughter was in college. I guess I should speak to my kids in the second person. Let's do that. My beautiful daughter, my beautiful son. I first thought about becoming a vegetarian when you were in college, my daughter, and you were a vegetarian. I didn't decide to do it at that point, but I did start cutting back my meat and started thinking about how would I do it? What would I eat? Then a few years later, I did meatless Mondays, and then about a year after that, I was taking care of my mom, your grandma. At that point, I went to meatless 6 days with meat just 1 day a week, mainly for her, but also for me, I think. After about a year, I went vegan. I'm making this podcast because I think of all the people in the world I should be able to speak to and make a plea for not harming animals, it would be my children. And maybe eventually my grandchildren will listen to this someday. I made the change. One of the things that affected me was watching the movie Earthlings, which Joaquin Phoenix narrated. And then also, there's how it makes me feel not eating meat. And I also stopped for the planet. I will say that there's something that happens to your body and your cravings when you stop eating meat. You just stop craving those flavors. Now, granted, I walk into a room with a barbecue and my brain remembers that I used to like that, but then my brain also goes to the suffering of those animals, and it kind of sounds disgusting. I accidentally had a bite of pork a few weeks ago because I ordered a tofu banh mi sandwich and took a bite, and there was pork. It was fatty because it was pork belly. Oh man, that would have been totally delicious had I still been eating meat all these years, but it was quite shocking. I guess I would say, if something isn't that hard, if something's better for you, for your lifespan, and then on top of that, add all we know about the suffering involved in the industrial meat industry and dairy and how the cows are treated. I just finished Mono Mutante, which I'm going to give you for Christmas. In that book, I include the International Kill Clock. It shows the number of animals that have been killed to date in the U.S., and it's just an astronomical number. In researching that book, I watched the Temple Grandin films that were produced by the meat industry as an example of so-called humane meat production, and it's really horrifying. The fact that our minds can look at the large-scale slaughter of these animals and feel that it's okay. There's another book I read, Kitchen Literacy by Ann Vileisis. In the book, the author describes the early days of industrial meat production near Chicago. They used to offer public tours of the facilities, but people were so horrified by what they saw that they stopped the tours. They realized they couldn't keep showing people how meat was produced. It was too upsetting. Since I'm re-recording, I'll read the passage. Those who took the invitation to tour the packing plants had a range of reactions. Company promotional materials spun the massive production and profits as models of industrial efficiency, and indeed, most visitors were impressed by the speed and scale of operations. At the same time, however, the speed, scale, and anonymity of the gruesome mass slaughter could be revolting to witness. Upton Sinclair would later describe the response of a typical tour group. The men would look at each other, laughing nervously, and the women would stand with hands clenched and the blood rushing to their faces and the tears starting in their eyes. Now and then, a visitor wept. And yet, we've just been killing animals on such a large scale for so long that we're numb to it all. So I'm asking you, as my children, to look at it carefully, to spend some time looking at it as a decision in your life. You have one life until we're reincarnated. And how do you want to live it? What kind of impact do we want to have on our fellow beings? I love you to infinity and even further. And I hope you'll consider my plea to stop eating animals. Start out slowly like I did, commit to a certain number of days per week, and then increase it until you're not eating meat anymore. I love you so much, Mom.